Are you ready?
You better get ready.
Get ready to dive into the heart of local sports action. Broadcasting live from the heartland of Missouri. Welcome to the SEMO Scramble on SEMO ESPN.
Get set.
Because it's time to catch up on the latest local highlights, in-depth analysis, and interviews from the Boot Heel and beyond.
Mark, get set.
Here we go.
And good morning to you. Happy Saturday. It's the SEMO Scramble here on SEMO ESPN Radio, 1220 AM, 93.5 FM, and online, SEMOESPN.com. Rusty Hendricks, glad to have you with us here on August the 2nd. Already to August as we get a little closer to school time for some of those kiddos, and summer winding down a little bit towards the end. But, hey, how about the weather? I love that last night. Great day yesterday. Expected to have a good weekend. I plan to get some things done around the house today. Hopefully make some progress on a couple of projects. So excited for that. And another good sports weekend. How about last night? I want to start with this. We'll get into some Cardinals. We'll get into some different things, a lot more baseball talk. We're going to talk with Kyle Reese of Birds on the Black, and also part of the Wednesdays with Walton podcast. He's a guy that focuses on Cardinals prospects. He's going to help me break down the trade deadline from this past week. We'll talk to him at 9:30. Coming up at 9:45, we'll talk with John Paul Sauer, new commit to SEMO Baseball, and we'll talk to him coming up at 9:45, get his thought. Hey, why did you decide to come back? So we'll get into that. Again, across Major League Baseball as well. A pretty cool thing here today in Bristol, in Tennessee. The Cincinnati Reds, the Atlanta Braves, going to be playing at a NASCAR racetrack. They expect... We'll see what happens, but they expect it to be the largest crowd in Major League Baseball history for a sporting event. So that's going to be pretty cool. I actually, as far as the matchup, I could do without. I mean, Reds and Braves, the way those two teams have been this year. But as far as the event, I think it's pretty cool, and I think that's a neat thing. I love that the Major League Baseball continues to kind of think outside the box for different things, different venues, and that sort of thing. So, 6:15 tonight on Fox, by the way, so that'll be interesting. Check that out. I think I'll try to tune in and out to that as well. But I want to first talk about a little Prospect League baseball. The playoffs started last night. The Cape Catfish at home hosting the O'Fallon Hoots. The Hoots came in, folks, with the best record in the Prospect League, 41-15 record. They had won at one point in the month of July 17 games in a row, okay? So a 17-game winning streak. They ended up losing a game to end the streak, 1-0, whatever. Then they came back and rattled off 5 more wins. So they won 22 of their last 23 games coming into this matchup. 22 of their last 23. In the last 30 games, they were 26-4. And again, 41-15, the most wins they had in their history. It was an impressive year for the O'Fallon Hoots. And look, the Hoots and the Catfish played 9 times during the regular season. It's a 56-game regular season. They played 9 times. They're in the same division. The Hoots won 7 of the 9 matchups. 7 of the 9 against the Catfish. But the only 2 times that the Catfish won was both at home, at Capitol Hall. And one of the rules of the Prospect League, I don't necessarily have anything against it, but it's a little different. So they break the season up in halves. So think of a Major League Baseball season. Think of it before the All-Star break and after the All-Star break. It's very similar for the Prospect League, just obviously shortened to 56 games. But the winner of the first half is they win a playoff spot. So if you win in your division in the first half, have the best record in your division, you get a playoff spot, and you submit home field advantage for the opening round. So the Hoots, they were the winners of the second half, so they had a better record than the Catfish in the second half, so be it. And they had a better record overall, but since the Catfish won the first half, they got the host. So that's how the rules went. Catfish take advantage. Now, look, Catfish, used that to their advantage. They knew they had a playoff spot. So in the second half, they had different guys in there, more playing time. They lost a lot of guys. The way they managed the games, they managed who's going to get a start this day, the bullpen. Okay, that was all they could do it because they had the cushion of a playoff spot. That's part of it. However, Catfish still played some good baseball, and they ended up with a 36-20 record, still very good. Ended up with the third best record in the Prospect League, the Cape Catfish. So right there, towards the top, 18 teams, third best record. The Hoots the first, the best record. But you could argue though the Catfish, if you combine both halves together, you could argue these were the top two teams in the league, no doubt. And because of the division they played in and everything like that, the schedule they played, the Rex had the second best record, but just literally by percentage points. But Catfish actually had a head-to-head against the Rex, if you're wondering, 4-3 record against the Rex. So, anyway, you could argue two best teams. The Catfish last night found a way to win. 7-2, they win last night, and that means they will move on to the conference championship game. That's going to be on Sunday at 6:35. And again, the Catfish got a host. And they'll host the Clinton Lumber Kings, who ended up winning in extra innings over the Burlington Bees. So Clinton Lumber Kings, who has the fourth best record in the league, will take on the Catfish on Sunday. But the Catfish got it going in the second inning. 3 runs, helping out by a big triple by Tink Sims, an RBI ground out by Caleb Niehaus. In the fourth inning, 4 big runs. It was capped off by a 2-run homer by Hayden Nazarenas. How about Sean Williams? He got the start for the Catfish. 6 innings, 5 hits, only 2 runs allowed. Had 9 Ks and no walks. As a team, Catfish had just 1 walk, 12 Ks. They lined up their pitching, their 3 top bullpen arms. They got touched for just 1 hit in 3 innings from the bullpen, and they had 3 Ks. They did well against the top offense in the entire league. So it was a fun night. Let's recap it. A little bit long, about 2.5 minutes, but let's listen in to what it was like last night at Capitol Hall. An 0-2 pitch from Sean Williams. Swing and a miss, and he strikes out the side. That is the start that the Fish needed here, and they get a good one from Sean Williams. So Tank Sims, he has had a good time against the Hoots this year. 7 for 14, a .500 batting average for Sims against the Hoots. He has 11 runs batted in against them. Ground ball right side, base hit! Down the line for Sims, and the Catfish are going to get on the board first. And having a trouble down the line is Hackworth, and Sims will dig into third, sliding head first with a triple. 2 runs come in, and it's a 2-0 Fish lead. This one hit pretty well to deep right center field. Did he get enough? Get up, get up. It is gone. It is gone. A home run. Hayden Nazarenas. Touch 'em all, Hayden. You talking about pumping up the dugout there. Hayden Nazarenas. 5-1 Fish. Sims the other way. That is fair. Fondlin down the line to third. He's going to try to score. Richardson, the third base coach, waves him, and he is coming in. 4th in the league in stolen bases. That's going to be a hit the other way. And Champion will try to score, and he will. Nathan Bowie with the RBI to make it 7-1. Fly ball to left, down the left field line, long run for Bowie, and he makes the catch in foul ground. 7-2, the final tonight. Catfish win it. The Hoots will fly their way back home. The fish keep on swimming. All right, that's how it sounded last night. And again, that was right here on SEMO ESPN. We'll have the next game on Sunday, 6:35 for the first pitch, 6:20 for the pregame. Catfish moving on. Their 7th win in playoff history, their first since 2021. And Catfish get the victory against the O'Fallon Hoots. So, again, a lot of fun. Hopefully you can join us. That was one of the biggest crowds as well we've had. Around 1,300 last night at Capitol Hall. So that was a lot of fun. All right. Moving on. Another big summer baseball team and teams and tournament. How about the Babe Ruth World Series? So it's going to be played in Florida, Ocala, Florida. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but in Florida for the 16 through 18-year-old World Series. And 2 Missouri teams in it this year, the Charleston Fighting Squirrels and the GSR Elite, or the Revelers as well. So those 2 teams in it. Things will get started today in pool play. Look, there's teams from all around the country. There's Mexico there. There's Australia that's there. United Kingdom, the Philippines. You have Nigeria, Asia Pacific, Canada's there, Chinese Taipei. I mean, all these different teams, 18 different teams. There's 4 pools. There's a pool A, B, C, and D. The Charleston Fighting Squirrels is in pool B with Sanford, Connecticut, with the host Ocala, Florida, the Philippines, United Kingdom. Dexter Youth is what they're called, but out of Sikeston, Missouri, and again, GSR Elite, that's who it is. Manassas, Virginia, Asia Pacific, Nigeria, and Gulf Coast, Alabama. Those are the teams in their pool. So today, a lot of games going on. They start at 10 a.m. this morning, local time here in Cape Girardeau, so 11 a.m. there in Florida. But the Squirrels will take on Sanford, Connecticut in their first game. That'll be 4 o'clock here in Missouri time, local time, 4 o'clock. You can hear the game on KSIM. Eric Sean's going to have the call. Make sure and join him on the call. There should be fun as the Squirrels taking on the Sanford, Connecticut team. And then on Sunday, the first game for the GSR Revelers, it's going to be a 11:30 a.m. start local time here in Cape Girardeau against Asia Pacific. That's who they will face off on Sunday. So, again, pool play to begin. These 2 teams going after it. We'll see both teams play on Monday as well. GSR is going to play at 3 p.m. and then at 6 p.m. is going to be the Charleston Fighting Squirrels on Monday as well. So again, pool play, and then you get into bracket play. But we wish good luck to both of those teams. And look, we saw obviously the World Series here in Cape Girardeau the last couple of years. Well, we saw obviously the Tropics winning it all. We'll see the Squirrels. Look, they've had an up and down season, but maybe they can make a run. They've been playing better of late, and you never count them out in playoff time. And then obviously GSR, they've had a good season. We talked to Mike Mitchell, their head coach, last week, and talking about, look, they really went after their schedule and played in some tough tournaments. Some of the big tournaments with some of the big prospects around the country, and they've got some good competition to really help prepare them for this moment. So looking to soak it in and have fun as well. So good luck to both of those teams, and we are excited for them this week. So again, stay tuned. Look at the schedule. You can check that out. Just type in Babe Ruth World Series. They have the tournamentmachine.com. You can check out as far as look at the tournament. All those games and scores are going to be on Game Changer as well, and they're going to be broadcasted, so you can go stream those if you want to pay for that fee for that. So again, good luck to those 2 teams. Excited. Hey, and if you're listening, we have some Fighting Squirrels hats available for giveaway. So we're going to take a break. We're going to talk about the Cardinals next and what they did last night. But during the break, we'll be taking calls. If you want a hat, give me a call. 573-334-1220, 573-334-1220, giving away Fighting Squirrels hats. And give me a call next here on the SEMO Scramble. We'll be right back. That's what it sounded last night in New York as Ryan Helsley made his New York Mets debut to Little Hell's Bells. So had to play that for you. Cool moment there. A little sad, though. The longest tenured Cardinal, Ryan Helsley, that was on the roster this year, is no more and traded away. We'll get into some of the trades and information here just a little bit with Kyle Reese. Prospect gurus, how I'm going to coin him for the St. Louis Cardinals. But how about the game last night? It was San Diego with a victory, 4-1 over the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals offense sputtering again. I mean, that's been, unfortunately, the story of late. They haven't got things going. Look, Nick Pivetta is a good pitcher. Nick Pivetta this year for the Padres, one of their best pitchers, 11-3 record now and a 2.73 ERA. And I thought Liberatore pitched pretty good, except for he just ran into trouble there in that fifth inning, and just had some issues with his defense, and then just couldn't get around it. Ended up going 4 1/3 innings, 4 hits, 4 runs, only the one earned. A couple of walks at a K, a 3.96 ERA. So for Libby, so again, in his first full-time duty as a starter, he's been pretty solid, no doubt, for the Cardinals. And this was really the only moment for the Cardinals, as in the top of the fifth inning, it was a 0-0 game, pitching duel to that point. And this was really the lone highlight for the Birds last night.
Swing and a drive, hammered deep left. Laureano will watch that one sail out of here off the facade of the second deck.
So Wilson Contreras with a solo home run to make it 1-0 at the time. Then the bottom of the fifth happened, and Wilson Contreras was involved again. Listen in to the San Diego Padres network for this one.
Grounds one softly towards third. Nolan Gorman on the run. And off the glove of Contreras at first base gets away. Cronenworth will take third and round it. Now a throw across the diamond gets away. Here comes Cronenworth to tie the score at 1. Contreras may have 2 errors on the same play.
What was he thinking on that throw to third? He spiked it.
You can hear him say, what was he thinking? Yeah, it was a putrid play. 2 errors on the play. They ended up giving the first error to Gorman at third on the throw, and then obviously the next throw, and Contreras trying to get the runner at third. I mean, just terrible. Not a good decision. Made things worse, and second error on the play, and gave the Padres some life, because right after that it was a 2-1 game. Libby out, and Matt Swanson in for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Line to center, base hit from Merrill. From third comes Diaz. Here comes Fernando. Padres take a 4-1 lead. Jackson Merrill driving in a pair.
So again, from the San Diego Padres TV network. So Jackson Merrill with a big hit in the game, a 2-run single up the middle is 4-1, and that's all she wrote. That's all she wrote from there. So the Cardinals, another lackluster game. The defense wasn't there for them last night. And again, you wonder, okay, how's this team going to react after the trade deadline? How are they going to be? Are they going to still have some fight in them. You'd like to see, okay, now we know, hey, this is not going to be a playoff team. Cardinals are sputtering out. Obviously, the Padres ahead of the Cardinals, so in the playoff hunt. And Padres get a much-needed win last night over the Birds, so Cardinals will be back at it another late night. So I think a 9-10 start in San Diego tonight if you want to check that out here on this Saturday night. So we'll see if I can make it to that. Well, I don't know how much I will get in tonight. But nonetheless, the Padres, they're a solid team. And you look at what they did. I know that a lot of teams are talking about the Mets, the Yankees, talking about. But to me, the Seattle Mariners obviously had a good deadline. But to me, I think the Padres are the one that was the most impressive. Now, you could say, look, they gave away a lot at the trade deadline. They gave away, I don't have to count. Let's see if I can go back here. I think I posted it on my social media a while back. I have to try to find it here. But the Padres, I mean, they picked up some guys, didn't they? I mean, Ryan O'Hearn, obviously Laureano that started in left field. You have, let's see, Mason Miller, who got into the game last night, 103, struck out Jordan Walker in a game. He was very impressive. We saw, again, some of the other guys for San Diego, they went all in, trying to add guys, trying to bolster them. And look, they're not that far away either from the Dodgers. So, again, trying to find that. I can't do that on the fly. I can't seem to find that how many guys that they got there. But nonetheless, it was a good deadline for San Diego. Okay, here we go. Now I got it. All right, so Mason Miller, J.P. Sears, Freddie Fermin, Ryan O'Hearn, Ramon Laureano, Will Wagner, Nestor Cortez, Jorge Quintana. All the guys they added, but they lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 15, 16 guys, prospects that they gave away. So, yeah, it was an absolute nuts deadline. But A.J. Preller for the Dodgers going all in. But, again, going back to the Cardinals, Nolan Gorman was brought up. Nolan Arenado went to the IL. Nolan Arenado, there's now some talk. He had, obviously, some issue with his shoulder. Said he's been playing through it a while. And remember, he made some comments right before the trade deadline saying, I've got a lot of things to think about. Okay, that's kind of weird at the time. Maybe it's talking about, okay, do I want to play the rest of the season? What do I want to do? Do I really want to stick through this Cardinals? Is it a rebuild now with what they've been going through? Arenado still owed $42 million, with $27 million coming in 2026, $15 million due in 27 as well. So there's still a lot of money on the books. Obviously, the Cardinals would love to get rid of him. But I don't know what team will take him. Maybe there's an off-season move there. But looks like maybe Nolan Gorman may be the guy at third for a while, and that'll be interesting. We obviously the Cardinals got rid of some guys at the deadline. They got rid of their rental guys, Matz, Helsley, and Phil Maton. They needed to do that. They had to do that. And so I thought as far as a return for the trade, they did all right. I gave them a B- at the deadline, my grade. And the reason for that is because I thought the trades they made, they got a decent haul. I mean, they got 6 prospects, and a couple of them seemed to be pretty good. Jesus Baez, one of those guys, the biggest guy from the Mets, ranked as the 10th best prospect out of Baseball America that was moved at the deadline. So that's not bad. But they didn't move anybody else. I thought they should have looked at JoJo Romero. I thought they could have got a good amount for him. I thought they could have got rid of one of their bats. There were notes out there saying, and Mozeliak confirmed it, that Nootbaar, Burleson, Donovan, all guys that were getting looked at hard, some of their lefty bats. I thought they should have tried to give away Nootbaar. I say give away, but they should have trade. And I think that he still holds some value, even though he's on the IL, because he's under control. I feel like he's a guy that could have got you a decent return. But they didn't do any of that. And so you just wonder now, what's the state of the Cardinals? Can they find a way to retool some things in the offseason, pick up some guys that, look, they have some money. but how revenue's down. What's the ownership going to do? Are they going to allow this team to spend some money at all in the offseason? Kind of some under happenings. It doesn't really sound like it. So what are they going to do there? Okay, if they're not going to spend, if they're not going to try to really add in 26, what's the goal? 27, 28? Is it beyond that? I mean, are we looking at a full rebuild here? Not, it's not going to be a teardown, not breaking up the whole roster here, but are we expecting 3 to 4 years maybe before this team is back to, playoff baseball? I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. Again, with Chaim Bloom, I just don't know. We'll have to figure that out in the offseason. But the trade deadline did signal basically the end for John Mozeliak, and a lot of people are dancing in their living rooms because of it. Now, look, he's a guy that had a great career with the Cardinals. He's going to wear a Hall of Fame jacket one day because what he was able to do, and he was a part of a 2011 championship as well. There are a lot of good things about John Mozeliak. I know that I've had my complaints as well, and there obviously there needs to be because he's not perfect, and there's obviously some things that I wish he would have done a lot better. So has he been a good GM? Yes. However, it is time for him to go because the last few years have not been good, and some of the moves he's made have not been good, and it's definitely time the fans need a new voice, need a new Pobo, and we'll see what Chaim Bloom can do. It's interesting because I don't know exactly what direction the Cardinals are going to go in, and I just hope that they don't punt on next year, they don't punt on 2027. I hope they try to reinvest some things this offseason and they figure out some things the rest of the year. Give some of these guys, what the goal was before the year, that runway, right? Nolan Gorman, one of those. Jordan Walker, one of those. Some of the young pitchers. We're going to get some good looks in the bullpen now. Andre Guineo and Ryan Fernandez back and some of these other guys. Obviously, Graceffo and Matt Swanson. And we just saw him, those guys. Okay, what are they going to be for it? Kyle Leahy. Can he start next year? I don't know. Again, figuring some of those things out for the next, 2 months here, the regular season. And I would love to see some other guys, Jimmy Crooks, maybe J.J. Weatherholt, maybe even Quinn Matthews, find a way to come up later on in the year as well in September for the Cardinals too and get a taste of the big. So, again, Cardinals, it's frustrating to be a fan right now, but again, as Mo would always say, be patient. Be patient. All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to talk with Kyle Reese, prospect guru. He's on with Wednesdays with Walton, Birds on the Black podcast as well. Get his thoughts on the trade deadline. We're going to get into that next here on the SEMO Scramble. Stay with us.
Is taking on the lion's share for the first time in his career at Double-A, and I think that we're just seeing fatigue. I think he's tired. I think he's not hitting up, and I think that those two things are playing. I think he's a little bit more aggressive, and I think he's probably a little beat up and a little worn down. And that's
all right. That was a little clip there from the Scoops Sports Network with Wednesdays with Walton and with Kyle Reese, and that's our guest here this morning here on the SEMO Scramble. Kyle Reese, he's with Wednesdays with Walton, Birds on the Black podcast as well. I'm going to refer to you as a prospect guru. So, Kyle, thanks for joining us this morning. How are we doing?
I'm doing really well, Rusty. It's a pleasure to join you guys.
Absolutely. Glad to have you on. So, look, I wanted to have you on to talk about the trade deadline, and it's come and gone. The St. Louis Cardinals ended up getting rid of some of their rental players, right? They got rid of Ryan Helsley, Steven Matz, Phil Maton, and they did DFA right before the deadline, and Eric Fetty, got to remember that as well. They did receive something. We don't know exactly what yet, but they received something from him, right? So, look, I said, as far as a grade, look, I don't know anything about prospects, but I say B- is what I gave because, look, I thought from what they got and from what I can understand, they got a decent return from these guys. My issue was they didn't decide to do anything else. They didn't get rid of any of their controllable players. I thought they should have looked at JoJo Romero, Lars Nootbaar, for example. I thought he was a guy that I would love for them to have traded as well, but they didn't do that. So I wanted to ask you your thoughts on the St. Louis Cardinals trade deadline, and what kind of grade would you give them?
I think it just comes down to what their modus operandi was, right? I'm under the impression that the part of this haul was designed for the player development group to get their hands on players that they wanted with skills and tools that they're interested in developing, that they're good at developing. So sure, some of these guys might not be the highest rated prospects in their organization, but I think that the Cardinals were very deliberate in getting similar players to what they drafted, which were big fastballs, pitching-wise, big fastballs with interesting characteristics and traits, breaking pitches you can dream on that just need tweaking. And then from the bats, both Blaze Jordan and Jesus Baez, I think they got a lot of contact tools that are more than just slap hitting. It's about some loud contact, maybe some discipline issues with Jesus Baez as compared to Blaze Jordan, but with plenty of things to work on. So for me, if they went and got what the player development group asked for and wanted, then it's an A solid A. If you're taking a step back just as a fan, as a prospect evaluator, on the national stage, I think you nailed it. I think B minus, because if the player development group can't get the most of these players, then other than Blaze Jordan as I guess as what we might call a quad A player, a 4A player who kind of comes up and down, and maybe Frank Ellisalt, who could be a really good bullpen piece, who has the potential to be a starter, but it's probably a bullpen piece. You probably didn't get much major league impact here. So it's on the player development staff to do what they do best, which is maximize the talent.
So that makes me wonder, too, because it feels like Chaim Bloom definitely had some influence here, right? Obviously, for example, Blaze Jordan, that's a guy, obviously out of the Red Sox system that he was a part of, right? But, the Cardinals obviously were noted about liking him in the draft that year in 2020 as well. But you mentioned it. A lot of these guys kind of, high A type of players. So it makes you wonder, at least I do, does that kind of signal kind of the plan for the Cardinals to where, okay, maybe next year, maybe even the year after that, they're not really expecting to be competing? Is that the sense you get too?
Yeah, without having any insider information, that's how it feels on the outside. Absolutely. I think we'll go into the same situation as Cardinal fans. I think exactly what they're saying after the trade deadline now, where we still, they'll probably continue to say we still expect to compete. We still have games to win, but I think that not only this haul, but the way that the prospects kind of line up in the organization, and aside from some big, continued big gains with some of the major leaguers, I think that you're talking about something a little bit more realistic in 2027 being competitive, depending on how the DeWitts decide to spend their money in free agency, which doesn't really seem like they're going to spend the money in free agency, at least until the player development side does some of their magic. So, yeah, I'm not trying to say that 2026 is going to be a wasted year. I would imagine that a lot of the players on the Major League roster are going to stick around. I don't know what that means for Arenado or Gray or Contreras, but I think that 2026 is going to be very similar to 2025 as the bullpen shakes out, as the roles in the bullpen shake out. So here's to hoping that 2026, the end of the 2025 season, the 2026 season, will help guide what happens in 2027 if 2027 happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking things over with Kyle Reese. Kyle, I wanted to, going back to the trade deadline, some of the guys they got 6 prospects. So I mentioned, they traded Helsley away. Just for the listeners out there as a recap, I traded him to the Mets. We saw him last night enter the game for them, but Jesus Baez, Nate Dome, Frank Ellisalt, the guys they got there from the Red Sox, and Steven Matz. They get Blaze Jordan, and then for the Rangers and Phil Maton, they got Mason Molina and Skylar Hills. So out of all those guys, which prospect do you seem to like the best out of what they received in return?
As they are currently constructed right now, I think that my favorite of the group is the 19th rounder, Frank Ellisalt. Kind of unexpected too. 19th rounder in 2024. I think he's got a lot of work to do again, but that is a lively arm. When he was drafted, he had he was living in the 92, 93 range with his fastball. His slider was, I believe his slider was 82. Well, the Mets have leveled him up. His fastball's now in 94, 95, or is in like the 95, 96 range. He can get it higher. His slider's in the high 80s. And his other breaking pitches, his curveball, his sinker, they're all really interesting pitches. A lot of work to do with the changeup and a lot of work to do with the curveball. But that's, I would say that of that group, and no disrespect to the rest of them, I just think that is a major league arm with major league capabilities. I think right now, like I mentioned, I think it's more of a bullpen arm long term, kind of like Bryson Mounts, kind of a current lefty in the Cardinals organization is kind of a bullpen arm long term, but with a chance to be more with continued development. So he's my favorite, which doesn't say anything for like I'm high on all the other guys that they got as well.
I do want to mention one other, and that was Jesus Baez, just because by some accounts he's the top-rated guy they got back, and by Baseball America, we'll just hey, they talk about baseball all year long. He was given the 10th best prospect that was moved this deadline. So whatever that's worth. So I wanted to ask you about him. Again, there's been kind of some mixed reviews on Jesus Baez, but your thoughts on him and his return from the Mets.
I like him a lot. He needs a lot more development than I think maybe his stat line shows. And as I was watching these last couple of days, I've gone back, I've watched a lot of St. Lucie and Brooklyn so that I could watch Ellis Alt and Nate Dome and Jesus Baez. He makes a lot of mistakes. He, especially in the field, like he has the potential to be a really great defensive third baseman, but he's kind of a little airheaded over there, and it's just because he's not developed. He just has a lot of more reps to get, and his at bats are really fascinating to watch. There's big power in there. There's big power potential. I mean, he's so powerful. I don't really know how he's quick. He's powerful. He has explosive movements. It's just that he's very raw in everything that he does. One of the things that I was tweeting about this morning is we saw him change his mechanics, and he does this a lot. But when he gets two strikes, he changes his mechanics, changes his stance, and he just kind of slaps his bat at things. Now, I love that he's not interested in striking out. That is really cool to watch. But I would imagine when he enters the Cardinals organization, they're going to find a way to streamline both of his swings and both of his approaches outside of two strikes and with two strikes. And I think that that'll be the key for what he ends up developing as a hitter. But yeah, if he can just clean up some of his baseball sense, some of his baseball IQ, I think that that'll be the first step into tapping into what is immense potential and immense raw talent.
Talking things over with Kyle Reese. I love listening to Wednesdays with Walton, those two guys talking about the Cardinals prospects, and that'll be coming up on wherever you get your podcast at on Wednesday. Check that out. I'm sure you'll be talking about some of the trade deadline things of that nature. But I want to move now towards the prospects and some of the guys that already are in the Cardinals system, and one of those in Quinn Matthews. He's a guy that's been injured at times this year, but he's shown flashes. Obviously, he had a great year last year and at the beginning of this year. But look, Quinn Matthews had I think a good start in his last time out. There's been some concerns with his velocity, but he's been pitching pretty well. And I guess my question is, when do you see him be able to come up, to the majors? Could we possibly see him as a September call-up? And do you have overall concerns with his velocity on how that could affect down the road?
Yeah, I'm definitely worried about Quinn's velocity. I think that throwing to AAA hitters with the automated strike zone, although it's just the challenge system, I think is a really tough thing. And I think if you don't believe in all of your pitches, if you're not getting the results with your pitches that you want, then you compromise yourself. And I think what we're seeing with Quinn is maybe a little lack of trust in his fastball. Now, he had a great start on Friday night. I watched part of it. I didn't watch all of it. But early on in that start, he seemed to really regain some of his trust in his fastball. And I think that also stems from his changeup being so good and getting a lot of swings and misses with the changeup, and the two of them playing off of each other really well. But I think that for Quinn, he needs to continue to just commit to his fastball. He is a bulldog. One of the things about him that maybe people don't realize is just how competitive, just how serious he takes it. He really does want to be the best version of himself. And because of that, a lot of times he doesn't focus on the good things he's doing. He overly focuses on the bad things he's doing and working to try to correct them and alter them. And once he calms down, once he gets comfortable with some of what he does really well and emphasizes that, I think that we'll see the best version of Quinn. I would love to see Quinn pitch out of the Cardinals bullpen down the stretch. I would love to see him start. But I think it would do him really well to get some time in the bullpen. And also, the Cardinals kind of have a lack of left-handed depth in the bullpen. John King is currently hurt. He might only be out for, the 2 weeks or whatever, but and Jojo Romero is going to take on a more prominent closing role. So I think that there's a situation here where adding him to the 26-man or potentially the 28-man in September would really benefit the Cardinals. But there is a concern. The Cardinals have a lot of members on the 40-man. They have a lot of players that they might have to protect in the Rule 5 draft in between 25 and 26. Those 2 seasons that they might have to protect in the Rule 5. So in their minds, they might have a bit of a roster crunch. So both he and Weatherholt, it would make sense not to add them to the 40 if you're the 40-man. If you're worried that you might have a crunch, you might have to make some extra difficult decisions entering the 2026 season.
Yeah, that's understood. I get that. But again, you'd love as a fan to be able to see those guys before the end of the year. But I wanted to ask you about just, a prospect in general for the Cardinals system. I'll let you take the floor wherever you want to go with it.
Yeah.
Who's a guy that you've been impressed with, that you see and you're one of your favorite guys in the system? This could be high A, double A, triple A, whatever. But a guy that you're high on in the Cardinals system, maybe even a guy that's under the radar from a lot of fans. But who's somebody that has perked your interest this year?
Well, I'll tell you, I think kind of the beauty of the Cardinals organization right now is that they're filled with players that are under the radar. I don't know if, they've always kind of had an underrated farm system dating back to 2018, 2022. Guys like Brendan Donovan sneaking under the radar, Ryan Helsley sneaking under the national radar. This goes on and on. Tommy Edman underneath the national radar. And I think that that's the spot that they're in right now. Everybody loves Nathan Church at AAA, and he just continues to hit singles and throw in a little bit of pop. He's a really good defensive outfielder, somebody that I'm not as high on as others. But even he, right on the cusp of the majors, is sneaking under the radar. I think the Cardinals have done a lot, specifically in the 2025 draft, to bring in prospects that will be under the radar until they're producing at the major league level. Again, I keep going to fifth-round pick Ethan Young, the righty with the big slider and big fastball, and also fourth-rounder Cade Crossland, both guys who have not Cade Crossland out of Oklahoma with a big fastball and a big changeup, both guys who have not made their organizational debut just yet after being drafted. But this also extends to last year. Andrew Dukanich is a righty out of Vanderbilt. The Cardinals drafted him in the 7th round, gave him an extra little bit of cash to sign. He just made his organizational debut after having Tommy John surgery, and he was lights out in Palm Beach. I think Daniel Ortiz, who is an infielder, a corner infielder, that the Cardinals drafted late in the 2024 draft, is big power, and we've seen him, after striking out a lot earlier this year, making his organizational debut, start to refine himself and also his defense and become kind of a potential top 10, top 15 prospect in the organization. Even Joshua Baez, who is...
I like him.
Yeah, every big power, and also improving his contact skill. He's taken every step you need a 22-year-old to take at Double-A. Started the year at High A, but at Double-A, he's taken every step that you could want, and no one nationally is really talking about him. So, I think that that's the beauty of the Cardinals organization right now. The player development staff has been able to work with and they've had such great returns with so many different prospects at so many different levels, that aside from the pitchers who have been hurt, Tekoa Roby, Tink Hence, Cooper Jerpy, Brian Holiday, even Chen Wei Len has been hurt to start the year. Aside from the massive amount of pitching injuries they've had, I think that it is an organization poised to kind of break out, and at least from a prospect standpoint. I can't say what's going to happen at the major league level, but from a prospect standpoint, where maybe a year from now, all of a sudden they're in the top 5 organizations as far as prospect depth. I could very well see that top 5, top 10 is definitely on the cusp.
All right, good stuff there from Kyle Reese. And look, it's going to be interesting kind of how things turn and move with the Chaim Bloom era, right? With kind of the trade deadline gone now, that's kind of signals the end of John Mozeliak. So it's going to be interesting, Kyle, how the Cardinals take a turn. And it looks like they're making progress, obviously, within their prospect system, and hopefully that can continue to improve. But, Kyle, man, really appreciate the time for joining me this morning. Good stuff, and thanks a lot.
Hey, my pleasure. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a good one, man. We'll see you.
You too.
All right, that is Kyle Reese. Appreciate him for joining us this morning. Again, you can catch him on Birds on the Black podcast, talking about minor league baseball prospects, and then Wednesdays with Walton as they dive in with thecardinalnation.com and talk about, again, Cardinals prospects, and they'll talk about the trade deadline, I'm sure, this Wednesday as well. So good stuff from him, and hope you enjoyed that going over the trade deadline. Wanted to ask a few more questions, but ran out of time. But next, we're going to talk with John Paul Sauer, get his thoughts on signing with SEMO. Talk to him next. Stay with us. Welcome back. SEMO Scramble here on SEMO ESPN Radio, 1220 AM, 93.5 FM, and online at SEMOESPN.com. Another interview here, talking things over with John Paul Sauer. Of course, the Jackson native, played his college ball at Tulane this past year. Just signed this past week to come back home to play for Southeast Missouri State. And excited for that. So John Paul on this morning. How's it going, man? Thanks for joining me.
Going well. Thank you for having me.
Well, I appreciate it, man, and looking forward to it. Look, obviously followed your career there at Jackson. I think a 3-time SEMO Conference Pitcher of the Year. I mean, you had an outstanding high school career, first-team All-Stater in Class 6 as well. And then, obviously, going on to Tulane last year. So, before we get to the SEMO stuff, I wanted to ask you, how was it like at Tulane? What did you learn there? And just how was your freshman year there in Tulane?
I mean, it was awesome. I gained more experience in baseball and life in that 1 year than I had the last couple, for sure. But in terms of baseball, just a lot of things I learned from. Like, it's whether it was the failures, but also seeing that I could play at that level. And I don't know, it makes me excited for the future and ready for the next step.
So you decide to come back home, and you decide, you enter the portal, and you sign with SEMO. Why did you decide to come back home, and why was SEMO the best fit for you?
The transfer portal, I was never a big fan of it, but I went ahead and entered it for this year, and just how crazy it is and the different level of schools you hear from, and it's kind of the Wild West right now.
Yeah.
But I knew before I entered the transfer portal that SEMO was definitely a spot I was looking for, and it came down to where am I going to feel the most comfortable, where can I bet on myself to play the best, and just have fun. And I thought SEMO from the start, and Coach Sawyer's reached out on the first day. My decision was very easy, but I just kind of let it ride for about a month and see what was all out there, and but eventually made the right decision.
And I was seeing Caden Carper of the Southeast Missourian who wrote a nice story about you, and he talked about how they were the team that seemed to recruited you the most. Is that right?
Yes, Coach Sawyer's, and then I got to meet Coach Kinney through the recruiting process this time. And just Coach Kinney, our pitching coach, I think we had a 2-hour Zoom call. And usually it's the recruiting pitches are, you get on a call, it's about 20 minutes, and this is what we do. It's pretty standard in a lot of places. But Coach Kinney really made it like an individual plan, talked about what happened this past year at Tulane, and what they expect moving forward. And it was upfront and honest, and I liked the way he coaches, and it seems like a good fit.
Can you give us a glimpse of what he said? What are some things that he mentioned that they're expecting from you?
I think you look at the pitchers at SEMO, especially this past year, it's low walks and high strikeouts with low ERAs. And, I mean, that's the name of the game. But the low walks is the important piece. And this past year I did struggle with that, kind of going from a pitcher to a thrower, and now we're getting back into the pitcher style. But that was just kind of like, okay, whether it's cues on each of your pitches or your self-talk, there's different things that we can help you with to get back to throwing however many innings with single-digit walks, which is the goal.
Awesome. Very good stuff. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time, but, man, I really appreciate you joining me this morning. Just give me your thoughts on signing with SEMO, and just that was neat there to hear from your thoughts there from Matthew Kinney as well. So, John Paul Sauer, we're excited to watch you for the Red Hawks and glad that you're back home, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Have a good day, man.
You too.
All right, that is John Paul Sauer here on the SEMO Scramble. Appreciate him for joining us. He just spent this summer in the West Coast League for the Bend Elks Baseball Club in Oregon. So 30 hours from home. Had a 4.2 record, a 3.26 ERA, 27 strikeouts, and 41 innings this summer. So he threw a lot. So John Paul Sauer, that was good to have him. And looking forward to him, again, for the SEMO Redhawks. All right, we're going to end things as we whip around a little bit in some baseball, couple of big comebacks last night, okay? The first, in Colorado, the Rockies and the Pirates. 17-16 was the final score. Here's how it ended.
High drive, deep left field, way back. He's done it! Unbelievable! I've never seen anything like this. 17-16. The Rockies win it.
So Brenton Doyle, what a comeback for them. Again, 17-16, one of those crazy games, obviously, there. And look, they were down like 9-0 in the game and came back and won against the Pirates. Unbelievable. So pretty cool there. That wasn't the only big walk-off. How about the one in Miami with the Yankees and the Marlins?
2-1. Chopper out in front of the plate. And over! Edwards scores from third!
That was from the Marlins TV network. Yeah, a little chopper in front of the plate. They score. And this is how it sounded on the New York radio with Michael Kay and Paul O'Neill.
It is hard to believe what we just watched. Oh, my goodness. What a loss for the Yankees.
Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason why this game happened. I mean, that ball right there just knocked in front, but too many mistakes, too many bad pitches when it counted. And the Marlins are just playing for fun, but they're not giving up.
Wow, so a heartbreaker there. Look, the Yankees are new advanced bullpen. That didn't work so well. Bednar, yeah, he got hit. The Bird that they got for the Rockies, he got hit. Duvall, yeah, he got hit. It just did not go well last night for the Yanks, and they lose it 13-12. So, again, check that out here today in Bristol, Tennessee, 6:15 start on Fox. That should be fun. Again, a game inside of a race car track. I'm excited for that as well. And, again, Catfish coming up on Sunday. You don't want to miss that. 6:35 for the first pitch, 6:20 for the pregame. But today, Fighting Squirrels baseball. Listen in at 4 p.m. Eric Schein will have the call on KSIM, our sister station, as well. So, folks, thanks for joining us today. Rusty Hendricks saying so long for the final time. Have a great weekend. Enjoy it. It's the SEMO Scramble here on SEMO ESPN. Take care, everybody.
You've been listening to the SEMO Scramble on SEMO ESPN. Tune in every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 for a dash of hometown pride right here on the SEMO Scramble. Yes, don't miss the latest news, scores, and stories that matter most to local sports enthusiasts. From the Boot Heel and beyond. Right here on SEMO ESPN 1220 AM, 93.5 FM, the SEMO ESPN app, and at SEMOESPN.com.